So I tried shooting this the other day, and I went over time by I don't know how much and couldn't upload it, and I'm quite annoyed because it's actually a really good argument I put forward. It is a video response in question to this guy called JesusFreek from somewhere in North America, and he makes this preposterous argument that atheism is to blame for everything in the last he claims that atheism has done more harm in the last 100 years than Christianity ever did, and I'm here to refute his argument. I should quickly point out that if anyone actually bothers watching my YouTube videos back from 2008, which I highly doubt, they'd have probably heard me saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian." Well, basically in 2009 to 2010, I had an absolute crisis of faith and recently became an atheist. So with that in mind, I'm shooting it from having stood on both sides of the spectrum. So I'll now quickly jump into his argument. The first problem with JezusFreek is that he does not even consider any other religions or their problems when he's making the argument. He seems to have this delusional idea that Christianity is the one great religion and that's about it. When I say that, he doesn't mention Muslims, he does not mention Jews, he does not mention Catholics, Buddhism, Hindu, nothing like that. Good old British cup of tea, mate. He has this idea that 5 million people died from Christianity, and the problem with that is that he then goes on to blame atheism as the main thing that caused so much death in the last 100 years. The problem with JezusFreek's argument, apologies, I'm fucking ill. The problem with his argument is he does not consider any of the research methods in conducting just how many deaths died. He also does not take into account that for about 2,000 years Christianity has existed as pretty much a dogmatic ideology upon society. I need only remind you of the Spanish Inquisition and things like that, and the Crusades, the violence that British empiricism and the concept of Christianity did upon the world, and the amount of harm it caused during the colonial era. Also, there's the Age of Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. He doesn't consider any of this. There's also the fact that we now have new technology, and in the last 100 years it's shut up in no small part thanks to science, I'd like to add on that. And he fails to consider two things here: the way we are able to record information now through the use of science, but also the fact that science probably was responsible for all the technology that allows so much destruction, which isn't a bad thing, because, well, it is a bad thing, but science is also responsible for giving us numerous medical advances throughout the last 150 years, a stupid amount. I'd rather trust my faith in science and trust my faith in the Lord from that perspective. I'm timing this, by the way, to make sure I don't go over. Also, he makes the preposterous idea that Hitler was an atheist. Hitler was not an atheist. He even goes as far as to say in Mein Kampf about what he wants to do to the Jews, and it's God's will that he does this. There are numerous other things that confirm Hitler was actually a Roman Catholic. I don't have time to go into all of them. I take it most people watching this are Americans, but even you guys must be reasonably intelligent and can look it up on the internet or read a book. Yeah, Stalin was an atheist. Yeah, I don't think that could be refuted. That doesn't mean that everything that he did, all the death he caused, was based solely on atheism. I would argue it was actually based on communism, a consolidation of crazy power, and it had nothing to do with the fact that he didn't have God in his life. You can't make a claim that many deaths were attributed to communism alone. It's a preposterous argument when you look at all the deaths not recorded by Christianity over 2,000 years, and you look at how we are able to record deaths now. There are some people there were thousands of people who died by Christianity whose names we'll never know, or even if they truly existed, simply because the evidence has been erased. I'm a history student, by the way. I know exactly what I'm talking about. He also goes on to say that, what has atheism ever done? But, well, I've got some bad news. Atheism's been oppressed by Christianity and other religions as well for well over 1,000 years, and the problem of that is the fact that obviously people did not want did not want atheism to expand because they wanted them to stick to their own ideology. And I need only cite what the Spanish Inquisition did to God knows how many people. Do you honestly think that is a decent thing, Jesus freak? Because thankfully atheism and science, two wonderful things, are no longer repressed now. We've had so much technological advancement. And he seems to go on about like Dawkins, but there's been loads of other guys, Popper, David Hume, Albert Einstein, loads of people. Karl Marx, Lenin, Fidel Castro. I don't need to say any more, do I? And maybe maybe a million years ago, you could not exist without God on your side, simply because of all the difficulties in existing in such a prehistorical sort of environment, and the Renaissance environment and things like that. But times have changed now. People are far more accepting. At least in Britain, they happen to be far more accepting. You know, we're a multicultural society. I'm not proud particularly of being British, but I happen to think we're one of the best societies to live under. Even if there's a lot of things wrong with us, it doesn't mean that it's the worst thing. Just like there's a lot of things wrong with evolution, it doesn't mean it's wrong, full stop. A lot of holes, not things wrong, sorry. I've got to go in a sec, so I don't want to overlap on time again. But lastly, he goes on about social institutions in America, I assume, having Christian faith built into them. Well, a lot of your founding fathers were influenced by a guy called John Locke, who happens to be one of my idols in philosophy, and he called for a thing called the separation of the church from the state. You should look into it sometime, because it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And I'll quickly wrap this up by saying that Jesus Freak is intelligent in making his argument, but he's absolutely stupid in how he's been brainwashed by dogmatic propaganda. Peace.